and welcome. I'm Tafara Gramu. My guest today, Charles Sutton, came to Ethiopia exactly 53 years ago. Marked by a musical connection, his association with the country has continued unabated to this day. Just recently, he released an album together with Marta Katsala, an Ethiopian artist who lives in Washington, D.C. Charles Sutton, welcome to the show. እንኳን ደህና መጣ. It's always great to have you back.
Well, thank you very much. እንኳን ደህና ቆየህ. You and I go back a long way, and it's a great pleasure and an honor for me to be able to be with you today.
Same here, Charles. You've just released a new album that seems to be like a gift to the new year.
Well, it is. I didn't think of it that way, but it is the new year, and it's a nice time to release something new. And this album, it's actually a DVD. It's a movie, a video, and it's the result of a collaboration with Marta Katsala, who's a singer and an artist in Washington, D.C., and also we had the good fortune to have a very good drummer with us, Sisai Teklitsadik. And this is our second DVD. And as before, our goal has been to remember days gone by, and especially the famous artists who were, at the time when I was here in Ethiopia, were very well known and popular, and still are in some cases.
Yeah, so basically you're talking about a rendition, right?
Yeah, well, it's a rendition of, we're trying to give our own interpretation of their music.
Have you succeeded in doing that?
Well, I mean, I'm not, I shouldn't comment on, I think I can say that
I watched a couple of those videos, and I was really impressed.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed them.
Oh.
And it's been a privilege for me to work with both Marta and Sisai. And as I've said before, and as you know, the people with whom I had the privilege to work for many, many years, and my whole association with Ethiopian music was really based on those people, namely Tesfai Lemma, Malaku Galau, my teacher, Geta Messiah Baba, and more recently Johannes Afwerk has passed on. And I had thought that this would be the end of my so-called career in Ethiopian music, but thanks to Martha's invitation, I've gotten a second wind and a new start on it.
So what was the reception like when you launched it in Washington, D.C.? When was it, about a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, it was well, we had a DVD release party, and it was very nice. It was at Maaza Restaurant in Falls Church, Virginia, which is, one of the larger and better known establishments. We had a very good turnout, and we performed a couple of numbers from the DVD, and it seemed to be well received. I was very happy.
So you're going to pursue that angle, right? A couple more DVDs are going, to make it to the stores in the next 2 years. Is that correct?
Well, I don't know. As you know, I also have a career as a pianist, and I've kind of devoted myself for the last year. Most of my time for practice to this project.
Because you live in Old Saybrook, which is basically in close to New Haven in Connecticut,
Yes,
which
that's
is
right.
basically about 6 hours by
It's
train.
more than 7 hours.
More than 7 hours, and you commute to Washington, D.C.,
Yeah,
where
so
you would need to train.
That's right. And so we, instead of being able to practice, every week or frequently, we had to practice just for a couple of days every month or 6 weeks when I could get away. And so it was a major effort to do this. It was a pleasure. But, I feel as if I need to devote more time now to the piano. But it's not, I'm never going to give up on, I always love to play, and I always love the Masenko.
So you're trained in classical jazz, is that what it is?
Well, I play jazz, and I've had many good teachers when I was younger, and I attended the Berklee College of Music for 1 year. So I don't really have a lot of training, but as you know, jazz is a very individual kind of an art. So you just have to look at it to seek what it is that you have to express and to try to bring that out as best you can.
So a conversation with oneself is a
and with your listeners, everybody has his own unique angle, and I think it's very important. I always tell younger musicians to find what it is that your particular spirit has to bring forth, and whether it be great or small, to find that thing and to try to share it with people. That's what music is all about.
And how do you view the jazz scene in Ethiopia? I'm talking about Addis Ababa.
Well, my main acquaintanceship with it now is through Gurum Mezmur and his cohorts. And he has a couple of bands. He has the Acoustic Renaissance band and his own band that plays a more modern type of music. And he's, as it happens, he's my best friend Amaha Hawaz's nephew, through whom I've been able to maintain some contact with the modern scene. And of course, Gurum is not only a very accomplished musician, but he is knowledgeable about all the styles of music, of Ethiopian music. And so it's been helpful to me just to know him, because it's helped me to keep up a little bit with the modern scene.
Interesting. Yeah, they had quite a vibrant band,
Yes.
as are several others who are into jazz. Right. Jazz seems to be the name of the game in Addis Ababa these days.
That's right. Well, of course, we can't forget Mulat Astatke, who, I guess he coined the phrase Ethio jazz and is well known for that. And he's kind of like the father of it all, I guess. He also attended Berklee College of Music, by the way, before I did.
Coming to Ethiopia, when was it? 53 years ago this week.
That's right.
As a Peace Corps volunteer,
That's
very
right.
young and vibrant. You were, what, 23?
I was 24.
24. You when you came here as a Peace Corps volunteer, you were assigned to do what you had to do and so on. Were you ever, did it cross your mind then that you would pick up the Masenko? When we say the Masenko, for our friends, your audience, we're talking about the single-string instrument, right?
Yes.
It's pretty much like...
well, it's like a fiddle with one string.
Yeah. Did it cross your mind that you one day play?
No, it never did cross my mind. And the way it came about was because of Orchestra Ethiopia, just because being on the faculty of Haile Selassie University, now Addis Ababa University, I was, I worked at the Science and Engineering College as an English teacher. And because of my association with the university and the fact that, the Orchestra Ethiopia was also associated with with the university and the Creative Arts Center, as it was then known, I became aware that about this orchestra, and I had a chance to go and see them, and I was just captivated by the music, and as I've often told, I went back the next day. Tesfaye Gassessa, who was then the general manager of the Creative Arts Center, introduced me to Aster Gabramariam and Tesfaye Lama, who were as a team were in charge of the orchestra then, and also to all of the musicians. And I got to hear all the instruments and to choose which instrument I would play.
And you picked?
I picked the Masenko largely because of Geita Masai.
He was a member of the band.
He was a member of the band, and he made such an impression on me, not only in his music, but in his demeanor, his comportment, his articulate expression. And I felt that he would, as an outsider, more so than now, because I had just come to Ethiopia, that this was a person that I could communicate with, and he could communicate his knowledge to me.
It's very interesting because the band was classically Ethiopian. There's nothing foreign in there. No guitars, no box this, that. Everything was, wind instruments from the south. The karar, was it the word? And it's like basically the guitar. And all sorts of stringed instruments and nothing foreign. It was very organic.
That's right.
And you made a difference there.
Well, my coming into the orchestra, when you said, did you ever dream that you would play the Masenko? I didn't dream that, and I especially didn't dream that I would ever play it publicly. It was for my own enjoyment that I wanted to learn. And it was because of Tesfaye Lama that I eventually joined the orchestra at his invitation, which I feel, in a way that Tesfaye was a very young man then, maybe 18 or 19. But when the position of director became open, when the previous director,
left,
John Coe, left, Tesfaye was one of the ones to come and speak with Tesfaye Gassessa and be interviewed. And even though he was very young and not experienced, there was something about him that Tesfaye Gassessa was able to recognize that he had great talent. It really speaks well for both of the Tesfayes, I think. And if he had been an older and more, let's say, conventional type of director, the idea that he would invite a white foreigner to join the orchestra would never have crossed his mind. But I think, at the time, when I received this invitation, I'd sort of gotten to know the musicians just by hanging around there because I liked, the music and everything. I really didn't think about why he would invite me. And I was taken aback, and I wasn't sure I was equal to doing something like that. But since it was a challenge, I thought I would try it. But it was only in later years that I found out, the real reason.
And that was?
Well, he happened until 30 years later. And this was a kind of a remarkable insight on Tesfaye's part. The traditional Ethiopian instruments had almost reached a point of extinction because of the popularity of so-called modern Ethiopian music, meaning the famous stars like Telahon Gassessa, Bazunash Bakala, and all of those, and the big bands that made, they had a lot of pizzazz, and they were very good orchestras. But, at the time, and even today, I very much enjoy their music, but they were kind of overshadowing what, the traditional music. And the paradoxical thing that Tesfaye did was to make people think by having an American who loved the music, and even so much as to actually learn an instrument and perform with the orchestra. His idea was, as he later explained to me, that even this is an American, this is an outsider, and he loves our music. So why shouldn't we, also be open to our own cultural heritage? The fact was, as Tesfaye told me, that at first Orchestra Ethiopia on the big Enkutataash, the New Year's Day festival, it was the bodyguard, the police orchestra, and the army orchestra that predominated. And after Orchestra Ethiopia was finally admitted to this festival, after they would play like 5 or 6 songs, that people started yelling, "Get off the stage!" And so this was kind of a gimmick, you might say, to have somebody like me up there showing that I loved and respected Ethiopian music, and it made people think, wait a minute, maybe we deserve our own music deserves more attention than it's been getting.
That was a streak of genius.
Yeah, really. I mean, it was very unusual. But at the time, I was very naive, and I was just young and enthusiastic. I said, "Oh boy, they want me to join the orchestra! I can't believe it." Yeah. So, I just went ahead and did the best I could.
We talked about this earlier on, when you were here last. The Orchestra Ethiopia, the second thing that made Orchestra Ethiopia even much more visible locally was you traveled to the U.S. and appearing
That's right.
on then the famous Ed Sullivan show on CBS.
That's right.
That turned everything around.
That made a big change.
Yeah.
And it was an idea and a kind of a dream I had ever since the whole story, and I'm sure many of your viewers also do, of how the orchestra was dismissed from the university, which had always been their home, and the orchestra was founded there 3 years earlier by the great musicologist Haile Meldab, and they were unexpectedly and suddenly dismissed. So that was when Tesfaye and I decided to try to make a go of it, as a private organization, since they had no sponsor anymore. And the idea of the tour was born of that, because it seemed like it would be a way, if the orchestra could make a successful appearance in the United States, that this would kind of solidify its reputation. That was the idea behind it.
Yeah, but it worked.
It did seem to work, yeah.
Any plans of resurrecting Orchestra Ethiopia? In other words, you remind me, I've told you this before too, I guess. Orchestra Ethiopia reminds me of the Buena Vista Social Club.
Yeah, I know. You did mention that, and it's a very apt comparison.
Right. And they came back together, whoever was alive then, and then did this tour. And they added a few more talents into the band. Can you do that? I know that most of your colleagues in Orchestra Ethiopia have passed on.
They have.
But I guess there are a few left.
There are 2 left beside myself.
Is there any?
Has
it crossed your mind to resurrect that and do at least a couple of tours?
Well,
Orchestra Ethiopia, that would make a big deal. I don't know. You have to bring all these traditional instruments from the south, from the center, and everywhere. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing foreign in that band as far as musical instruments are concerned.
That's true.
So would it be possible to
I
do
feel
that?
it would be possible, and it has been suggested. And I think at this stage, what I feel that, especially with the involvements I have with, my own music, I'd like to remain involved in Ethiopian music, but I feel it's too great a task for me to undertake. But what I would like to see is someone who is younger and vigorous and who would make a second Orchestra Ethiopia in the university, its original home. I should mention in this connection that after we had come back from the United States tour, and I was about to depart after serving here for 5 years, we invited the then president of the university to come and hear the orchestra and we begged him if he could take the orchestra back. He said he would put it under consideration, but nothing ever happened. But now I feel maybe there might be, with your idea, and other people have also expressed this to me, that maybe it's possible at this date. It would be impossible to revive the orchestra as it was, because one of the two remaining singers or members beside myself is Sahai Ndala. She lives in the United States and is retired. The other is Yeshi Mabrate, and they were our two star vocalists to whom Tesfaye Lama gave many of his compositions. But we're all quite a bit older now. And I'm sure we could make, some kind of a Buena Vista social club. But let's remember, this orchestra was a composite of all the Ethiopian instruments for the first time, not just the well-known ones, but all that we could possibly assemble. And I think it would be wonderful, and I would love to see it if some young artist or musician in the university could reestablish the orchestra and make it again a part of, now it's called the Cultural Center. It was then the Creative Arts Center. Under that auspices, to bring back the orchestra, there's a lot of documents, history. There's a lot of things that Tesfaye Lama did. There are recordings. There are many things that could make a tie between the present and the past. And if someone would undertake to do that, I would lend my support to it absolutely wholeheartedly. I don't feel I can do it myself, but I feel that somebody within the university should do it if others feel the way I do about it.
You came here 53 years ago.
That's correct.
This week,
that's
actually.
Right, yeah.
So can you connect those 2 weeks, which are 53 years far apart?
Well, I can. My own feeling about Ethiopia, and the thing that drew me to Ethiopia and Ethiopians in the first place, is the traditional culture and the warm-heartedness and welcoming nature of the Ethiopian people. I feel that the changes I've seen, as great as they are superficial. It's true. When I was a young man and I lived here, I could easily travel around the city. I had a vehicle that was provided to me by the Peace Corps for my work. And the traffic was maybe a 20th of what it is now. So the main difference I've noticed, as many other people who have been longtime visitors, is in the crowded nature of the city, the multitude of cars and people. But I find when I speak with Ethiopians, not only the ones I knew long ago, but ones I've met since, and new friends that I make, I find there's something about Ethiopia that I look at. Maybe Ethiopians don't see it as much, but I, as an outsider who was once new to it all, my original positive and warm feeling about Ethiopia, there's nothing that's happened that could change that.
Interesting. So that gets you involved in a number of projects helping people and all that stuff. And what was the organization called? Yesera?
Yes.
How's it going? The last time I talked to you, I had you on the show. You just gotten started.
Yes.
Working for them.
Well, I just had the good fortune through a former Peace Corps volunteer who had been here at the same time I was to be introduced to this organization about 5 or 6 years ago. And I've tried to help them in various ways by publicizing their work, and also by applying for financial grants. The idea behind it is that there are many very talented and ambitious young people who, because of circumstances beyond their control, were not able to finish secondary school, who got as far as the 10th grade, but then because perhaps of the death of their parents or that they were orphans to start out with, and they needed to help their families in various ways, they had to go to work. They were not able to finish their high school education. So what this organization does is to, through the local community government, to identify these talented young people and to interview them, and if they succeed, to bring them to Addis Ababa if they're not already here, and to give them a year of training in a trade or craft, such as, for example, hotel management, or electrician, or various trades, and then to help them start their own businesses. And the board of directors are a group of Ethiopians of a very far-sighted and patriotic Ethiopians living in the United States who remember the good luck and the chance that they had to make it and to try to help younger people to follow the same path.
Is it working now?
I think it is working, yes. There have been some setbacks, but I think the organization in Ethiopia is led by a man named Solomon Retta, and he's completely. He has other professions by which he lives, but his main interest and his wife also is an equal partner, Wezero Asalef. He's given his heart and soul to this organization, and it's really it's a wonderful thing.
Well, thank you very much, and it was again a pleasure to have you on the show,
Well,
Charles.
Thank you very much, Ato Deferra. The pleasure is mine.